Welcome in, everybody. It is me, Ian Fritts. Welcome to the Ian Fritts Show. We have the first round of the college football playoff recap video for you right now. We're jumping straight into it. There was a game Friday night, Indiana, Notre Dame, Fighting Irish. They dominated. They handled Indiana. They handled the Hoosiers. They got business done, and they got it done relatively quickly, folks. Okay, there was a turning point in this game for me. And that point was Indiana gets an interception off a tipped ball. Man, everybody was hyped. I was as well. I was not pulling for the Irish. No offense to the Irish. Nothing against them, but I was pulling for Indiana. I like a good underdog, okay? Sue me. Don't. Indiana got an interception. They're driving down the field, driving loosely because they went like 10 yards, but that was a long drive for them in that game. They went about 10 yards, and then, boom, interception. Notre Dame has the ball at their 2-yard line. You're thinking, okay, all right, just force them into a punt if you're Indiana. Boom, next play, 98-yard touchdown run, Jeremiah Love. Out of the gates, game was over. You could tell Indiana was not doing anything against this Notre Dame secondary, folks. I mean, this thing was over, and it was over fast. It was a theme in the first round of the college football playoffs. And really, I don't have much to say about this Indiana-Notre Dame game, except somehow this ended up being the closest final score of all 4 first-round playoff games. 10 points. Indiana kept it the closest. Now, some of you are saying, Ian, it was not that close of a football game. Okay, did you watch the whole thing? I did. Yes, I know it wasn't actually 10-point game the entire game. Indiana got a couple garbage time touchdowns there at the end, and I had Indiana plus 7.5, so I was hoping they got one more. Just for my own willpower. And they didn't, folks, and they didn't, but that's okay. But somehow that ended up being the closest final score. 10 points, okay? And I'm gonna go through all 3 of these games really quickly. The Saturday games yesterday. SMU, Kevin Jennings probably should never play in a big game ever again with the way he performs on that big stage, okay? You think back to Clemson, that was his biggest stage that he has played in, and what did he do? Turned the ball over about a gazillion times. Okay, you're thinking, okay, he's got that out of his mind. He has that out of his head. He's ready. He's reset after 2 weeks. They're in the playoff. They're going to State College, Pennsylvania. They're playing James Franklin, notoriously loses big games. And they think they can steal one with Kevin Jennings at the helm. Okay, what does he do? First quarter, turns the ball over 30,000 times, and the game's over. The game is over. Penn State, I'm not even sure they played a B game yesterday, and they won by 28. They had 2 pick sixes. That was the first 14 points of the game. 2 pick sixes? What are we doing, SMU? They are definitely the worst team that made the college football playoff. I have no issue with saying that, no issue with presenting that. They sucked it up big time, folks. And I mean big time, like big time. Like it was really, really bad, big time. It was abysmal, folks. Abysmal from SMU yesterday. The afternoon game, Clemson, Texas. Clemson 24, Texas 38. This was the closest game. Now, you just heard me say SMU was the closest game. Didn't you, Ian? Didn't you just say SMU? Or excuse me, Indiana, Notre Dame was the closest game? Yes, final score-wise. But in the game, Clemson kept it the closest than Texas, than any of the other 4 teams did. Clemson got it within 7 points at one point in the fourth quarter, and then immediately Texas tacked on another touchdown right there. Clemson could not stop a nosebleed in the running game. They couldn't, if throwing a football anywhere was equated to stopping the run for Clemson, they wouldn't be able to even grip the football. That's probably a terrible analogy, but that's the one that boom popped into my head right there. Any basic form of anything, Clemson couldn't do that in the run game. Okay, it was bad from the get-go. Any type of run play that Texas threw at them, Clemson thought they'd never seen this before. They'd never seen a running play before. You think the way they tried to defend this stuff. It was atrociously bad from Clemson in the run game. And yet they were within 7 points. 7 points in the fourth quarter. And they got down to the 5-yard line. And what do they do? What do they do? Okay, they got down there with success throwing the football on the outside and some outside runs and some QB run game. And they get to 4th and goal. We have to have it. It's a have-to-have-it situation for the Clemson Tigers to pull within 7 with 8 minutes to go in the football game. You have to score here. You have to score here. Game is over if you don't. And what does Garrett Riley draw up? And I'm going to blame Dabo Swinney for this too, okay? You cannot let that play call fly. He goes, you know what? Inside zone. Inside zone. What are we doing, Dabo? Garrett Riley. That was the worst play call I saw yesterday. And yet, you guys, slim, albeit you had the best chance to win of all these suckers that got into this playoff, okay? You had the best chance. The best one. We're about to get the team that had the worst performance, I think. Well, SMU. We'll throw them aside. Had the worst performance other than Clemson and Indiana. Okay, Tennessee. What was that, folks? I'm sorry for all the Tennessee Volunteer fans that went up there to the Horseshoe. You guys took it over. It looked like it was a nice big crowd of Tennessee Volunteer fans, and it might have been the worst experience of their entire lives. Okay, and I'm not exaggerating, folks. I am not exaggerating. Just an absolutely horrendous showing from the Volunteers. 42-17. 42-17. This is what Ohio State can be, folks. This is what Ohio State can be. You play that Ohio State team, nobody's beating them. Nobody. Not a one team. I feel bad for the Oregon Ducks and Dylan Gabriel and Dan Laney. They got to go play Ohio State now. Okay? And I wouldn't want to play them right now. Hand up. Not me. You can opt me out of that game. I'm not playing Ohio State right now. No. Okay, but hey, it's not the end of the world. It is not the end of the world, okay? And everybody watching these football games made it seem like this was the end of college football as we know it. The world was crumbling. The college football playoff needs to be revoked. It needs to be torn apart. Go back to 4 teams. Let's get 4 teams in here. Get rid of them. Go back to 4 teams, folks. And look, I'm just going to say that there were also people calling for 8 and 18 playoff, okay? Because clearly these 9, 10, 11, 12 seeds did not even deserve to be in this thing. Folks, let me preface this. If we have a college football playoff with 12 teams, the chances are a couple of these teams are going to be pretty booty, okay? That's just how it works, okay? And the chances were, in a 14 playoff era, this year excluded, we always had at least pretty much one garbage team in there, okay? Now, if we had a different seeding system, the flaw is not 12 teams, folks. The flaw is the way in which they're seeded, okay? Because an Ohio State and a Penn State would not have been in the position they are in right now. Those games wouldn't have even happened, and those were the 2 worst games, okay? Ohio State and Penn State games. Those were the 2 worst games. They wouldn't have been playing this weekend if we just go based on what the committee gives us, 1 through 12. Ohio State and Penn State would not be playing, okay? Get that through your thick skulls, okay? That's what we need to transition to. Get rid of these automatic buys for all the conference champions. It's ridiculous. It is naive in thinking they're all equal in all those conference championship games. It is a terrible system, and it is giving us a product that diminishes what college football is. I'm all for the on-campus games. Hand up. Love it. I thought the atmospheres looked pretty sweet. I would have loved to be at all of those games. I would have loved it. Okay? But you can't have an Ohio State team that would be the 3 seed or the 6 seed or whatever they would have been. You can't have them playing a 9 seed Tennessee, okay? Tennessee would have had a home game if we just go based on the seeding because they were ahead of Boise State. They were ahead of Arizona State. They would have had a home game. They're probably playing in Arizona State or Boise State at home in round 1. Okay? And I'm all for that. That's given us 4 good games. We're getting more competitive games if we rank the teams based on where they're actually ranked and we put those games in front of us. Because this is, I'm staring at one right. Look, it was 11 seed SMU, 6 seed Penn State. We're lying to people. We are lying to people. That was not an 11 seed versus a 6 seed. That was the 11 seed or the 13 seed or whatever SMU was in the rankings versus the 4 seed in the Penn State Nittany Lions. What are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? What are we doing? We can't have an 11 seed, 3 seed, first round playoff matchup. That makes no sense. In no world should that be the reality we are living in the 12-team college football playoff era. I have no issue with 12 teams, okay? You can count me in for 12 teams every single year. I love it because these 4 teams, Tennessee, SMU, Clemson, Indiana, if we went to 8 teams, you know who would be complaining? burning the entire country to the ground, those 4 teams, and also all the people that are saying, we need to go to 8 teams. You know who would be saying, Tennessee should be in it over Ohio State. Clemson won their conference. Get them in and get them in the 18 playoff. Every single person calling for an 18 playoff would be up in arms over those 4 teams not in the 18 playoff, okay? 12 is the right number. It's not going to stay at 12. It's going to 16, folks. It is going to 16 or 14. But you got to get rid of the seeding issue. That is the issue in the college football playoff, okay? It's not 12 teams. It is not the amount of teams, okay? And I'm not sure we're ever going to get them just ranking the 14 best teams or the 12 best teams and give us our matchups, okay? I'm not sure we're ever going to get that, folks. But that's where we need to transition to. That needs to be the future, okay? Because this right here behind me, 42-17, this should never happen. And I say that, and I don't actually believe that because it will happen. It will happen if we have correct seeding. It's going to be inevitable. But every single game, 42-17, 38-24, 38-10, 27-17. And that last one, 27-17, should have been 27-0. Okay? So all 4 games being what they were, disaster for college football. And it is not because there were 12 teams. It is because the 12 teams were not properly seeded. They were not playing a proper opponent, ladies and gentlemen. They were misseeded. That is the issue. It all lies within the format. And this is what we've been calling for really since the 14 playoff came out. Everybody was kind of disappointed in the 14 playoff. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was fun. I still wanted more teams in because I like watching college football. And everybody complaining, hey, you're getting more college football. I don't think you understand that. I even though they were all kind of boring football games because they were blowouts, I enjoyed watching the football. I did hand up. I liked watching it. When Clemson came back within 7, who was up? Who was cheering? Who was ready to see Texas go down? I was, ladies and gentlemen. I was ready to roll. When those first 2 pick sixes happened for Penn State, who was jumping up and down saying, oh, Kevin Jennings, get him out of the game. Put Preston Stone in this thing. Who was there? I was, okay? I was ready to roll for these football games. I was still having fun, okay? And if you're not there, get out of here. We don't need you in the college football space, okay? Get out of here. Except comment down below, subscribe. And look, the whole point of this is we have to change the system, folks. The system is failing college football. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe down below. We'll have the preview for the second round quarterfinal games upcoming this week. So stay tuned for that video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys. Bye.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game.
35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There it goes.